should stick to one boy, and he won't stop calling. I know we be so complicated, but we...
Listening through a lot of new pop songs I like these past couple years, I started noticing how everyone's kind of singing in this whispery and breathy tone. At first I noticed Billie Eilish doing it, but then now there's like Sabrina Carpenter and even Ariana Grande doing it too. And after doing some more research, watching a lot of videos and just artist interviews, I realized that it is indeed an intentional choice and a new trend by artists these days. For example, Sabrina Carpenter used to sound more like,
Don't just stand there staring, honey. Try to move your feet.
but now she sounds more like,
I can't relate to desperation.
way more whispery, breathy, and just softer. So I want to talk about how this singing style became so popular, the history behind it, and the one big downside to singing in this style. But first I want to talk about how this singing style works in more detail. So to create this more intimate, whispery, kind of breathy sound, besides just adding more air to each sound, artists use a technique known as vocal compression.
What it sounds like is this. You hear that? It's like a grunt.
To put simply, it's a common technique for singers where they constrict the amount of air they use when they sing by kind of holding back the breath. How my old vocal teacher likes to describe the technique is to pretend as if I really have to use the bathroom, and then I'm holding back the urge to, and just sing like that. Vocal compression is especially important for whisper singing because in order to sing quieter, artists have to use less air when they sing. So to whisper sing, they use just enough air to let the sound out without using any more than that. And to sing louder, they would have to use more air. Here's an example of singing without a lot of vocal compression. And one with a lot. But to achieve this whispery singing style, not just vocal compression is needed. Since artists use just enough air for a soft and quiet sound, to make themselves heard, they have to get closer to the mic, which further adds to that intimate kind of whispery sound. As a simple demonstration, this is talking far from the mic, and this is talking close to the mic. Not only does the sound get louder, it also gets bassier and heavier, and just more intimate overall. So combining vocal compression for a quiet sound and singing close to the mic, we get a sound like,
I used to float, now I just fall down.
not to mention on studio recordings, producers often add some reverb and slapback delay to make the breathiness and just whispery sound come out more.
I used to float, now I just fall down.
So artists and musicians probably have been doing whisper sing as early as classical music, but this current trend really started in the early to mid 2010s with more indie and alternative sounding artists like Lana Del Rey breaking through to the mainstream, singing in this more whispery style. Songs also started sounding more minimal too in the mid to late 2010s. And following Lana Del Rey in the late 2010s, we got major artists like Billie Eilish, who idolized Lana Del Rey, coming through with this whispery vocal style too. And now everyone's doing it. Now, as an interesting contrast, prior to the mid-2010s, in the late 2000s, artists generally sang with way more power and just way more over the top with a lot of belting. Songs also sounded way more maximal back then. A huge thing that's driving artists nowadays to adopt this singing style is a change in how people are consuming music. So in the 2010s, wireless and Bluetooth headphones in general became super popular. So there are more and more people listening to music on headphones versus through their poor laptop and phone speakers back then. And as people started listening to music more on their headphones, they can hear music more clearly, and the music also sounds way closer. So that makes the maximal pop sound of overly compressing everything to make everything really loud in the 2000s less desirable, the loud singing voice too. Since people can hear music way more clearly and just closer now, it becomes more about texture, and whisper singing adds way more texture with the breathiness versus just singing straight or belting. That's also partially why ASMR videos where they play really soothing sounds to trigger relaxing sensations in a person's body became really popular in the 2010s. Not to mention, even if a person rejects using headphones, laptop and phone speakers also got much better in the 2010s compared to the 2000s, allowing the music to sound way more clear and just closer. This new, more whispery and just minimal singing style is said to sound more intimate and authentic compared to the often criticized over-the-top pop vocals of the past. As a fun example, Ariana Grande's voice used to sound more full and powerful and just with a lot of belting, but now her voice sounds way more whispery and just toned down. A change in how people make music these days also led to this more whispery singing style. For example, Billie Eilish is known for producing and recording her hit album, When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go, with her brother Phineas in their parents' house in their old bedroom. And this whispery singing style fits that bedroom vibe really well because it's as if someone's like whispering in the room because they can't be too loud.
Tell me I've been lied.
Now, one big downside to whisper singing is that it cannot be done too much because it's hard to do it for long without damaging the vocal cords. That's also why artists rarely whisper sing an entire song, and if they were to do it live, they usually tone it down more. As mentioned, whisper singing involves the use of vocal compression, which is a singing technique to make sure just enough air passes through the vocal cords for a whispery sound. And when an artist fails to compress properly, the sound will just come out breathy and not whispery at all, which puts a lot of pressure on the vocal cords and leads over time to stuff like nodules developing in the throat. A famous example is how John Mayer, who's known for a really breathy vocal sound earlier on in his career, had to get surgery eventually. He ended up having to get 2 surgeries to remove the nodule in his throat, first in 2011 and then again in 2012. Thankfully, he's back singing now, but he does know that his voice does not quite feel the same. Another drawback of whisper singing is that it's hard to sound good live. It's partially because, like I just mentioned, it's hard to pull off properly without damage to the vocal cords for a long time. But also, since it sounds quieter in general, it's hard to not get drowned out live with all the other instruments. For example, Lana Del Rey often gets drowned out live especially because she plays big stadiums, which are known for poor sound control. As we sing, whisper singing became popular in the mid to late 2010s with increased headphone usage, people making music in their bedrooms more, and as a more raw and intimate alternative to the more kind of full, belty, and just maximal pop vocals of the 2000s. If you're interested in learning more about other musical trends, check out this video where I talk about the most overused beat in pop music. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.
You know, I could have belted it, I could have sung it more out, I could have sung it da 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 da, and instead it was like a da da da.